Oh, how is everybody? Good?
Yeah.
Good? Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. I am not Catherine Kiefer. If you see my name, it says Catherine Kiefer. I'm not Catherine Kiefer. But Community Ed got our own Zoom account. Yay. So we don't have to share with everybody else, but it's her account. So it says Catherine Kiefer instead of me. So I'm still me. So everybody's doing okay
Oh,
for Friday afternoon?
holiday weekend.
Oh, holiday weekend, yeah. Anybody have particular plans?
Work.
I think we'll just stay home.
Yeah, good idea. Stay
What's a
home.
plan?
There's an estate sale. I'm going to go help after this class all weekend. But my friend Karen used to live here, Karen Reeder. She taught with me at the high school. She taught art. She moved to Santa Fe and just finally sold her house here, and she's having an estate sale.
Oh,
where's that, Kathy? I'll go. All right.
Right down the road from Sally Waters, 113 Rim.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah.
I've
So,
seen a lot of signs
yeah.
There are yard sales and garage sales everywhere.
everywhere.
Oh, I guess so. This is the weekend, huh?
Yep. But she's getting rid of everything. So.
Oh my.
Hey, Lynn.
Not that I need
Welcome.
anything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get rid of myself.
Maybe I should take some stuff over there.
There you go. We're talking garage sales, Lynn. There's a bunch of them around here this weekend.
Yeah.
So, all righty. Well, let's go ahead and start, ladies. If you looked at your agenda carefully, you would see I had class session 2. So, not 2, it's 3. So this is our 3rd week, and I'm so happy you guys are here. And you know our 3 topics for today. We're going to talk about cognitive fitness. We're going to talk about self-nurturing, and then something called cognitive reserve. So I'm excited about those 3 topics. So well, we'll get to them in just a few minutes. But last week, we talked about goals, and we talked about SMART goals. And if you'll, we'll see if I can still do this.
But
we said SMART, S-M-A-R, oops, gotta do this.
you need the money more than you do. How good it is.
S-M is still not doing. All right, we might not do this. Text. Oh, there it is. S-M-A-R-T. Yes.
You're quiet.
I'm quiet again. Okay.
Put up your volume, please.
Okay. I have to stop this and go to this. I'll tell you what the deal is. There's such an echo in this room. I'm in a conference room, and there's such an echo. It's hurting my ears but we'll figure it out. Okay. So S-M-A-R-T. Who remembers what that stands for? I have my headset on. Okay, S-M-A-R-T. Any notions of what that stands for?
Video changing.
Failed.
No.
Not smart this morning, Mary. Not smart.
Okay. Well, we'll push on then, and remember, the S stands for specific. The M stands for measurable. The A stands for what? I can hear somebody whispering.
The thing.
The thing. R, relative to our life. Thank you, Rhonda.
Whisper.
And the last one means time bound. And I told you about my new goal of losing 30 pounds in the next 2 years. So anyone else set a SMART goal by any chance?
No.
No?
I did.
Okay. All right, Rhonda, what did you?
It was a very, very short term. It was to be able to walk up and down Larch 5 times.
Okay.
I did it.
And she did it.
It was
Larch is a street that goes like that. So that was hard.
and I did it in 30 minutes, which was
Wow.
amazing in and of itself. But so my next SMART goal is to do the same thing in a faster time.
All right. So it's
Less than,
specific. You want to walk up and down Larch, measurable, 30 minutes, right?
no, 5 times.
Not 5 times. Attainable. You know it can happen. Relevant or reliable to your life, related. And then time bound, 30 minutes or less. So it doesn't have to be a real complicated thing, but the components make it something that you can attain. Okay, anybody else have a SMART goal or thinking of one?
I do.
Kathy.
Okay. I had to regroup on my goal setting. But I have boxes under the house from my shop in Santa Fe and from here that I hadn't gone through. So I'm going to go through those. But it was overwhelming until I gave myself some slack. So first of all, I said for the time frame, I'll do one a day. Oops. So then I had to rethink my goal, and now it's one a week. And I just feel like if I can just get through one of those boxes, you know, a week, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
because
Good,
now I have to do it by myself, you know, with the COVID thing. My husband was here helping me, and then, yeah, so now I have to.
good, good. That's a good start.
Hmm.
Jessica, you unloading any boxes?
Yes, but I didn't make a SMART goal out of it. I mean, if I'm time bound, it's sometime before I die. So I cut myself a lot of slack, Kathy. That's my goal.
She has a lot of boxes. So,
Yeah.
All right. As far as like from a professional organizer standpoint, like I
Mhm.
did a little teeny weeny stint, those types of, as a professional organizer, sorry, complete sentence. So those kinds of things, those boxes and those chores like that are so hard. A lot of times you know, you can set aside a box or you can set aside a time and say 10 minutes, you know, 10 minutes and to sort and do whatever. That's another way of dealing with all
Right.
those nasty chores that we don't like doing. And it's amazing if you just do it for like a short amount of time, Kathy, like you said,
Yeah.
a small bite, it makes it so much easier
Yeah.
to deal with mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's overwhelming. Ooh.
Oh,
Otherwise.
it is for lots of people.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's not fun. No one likes doing it. Not really.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
it
you, Wanda. That
sounds
was good.
like maybe SMART goals appealed to you guys a little bit more than the week before. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. It was much shorter. And again, remember, if you're into goal setting and your personal mission statement, there's thousands of ways of doing it. And we're not going to talk about all thousand, thank goodness. But you know, just presenting a couple, and we'll talk about the path in just a few minutes. But also last week we talked about resilience in the terms of increasing it. Do you feel like you did anything this past week to increase your resilience at all?
Star 6.
I don't know who's talking. Clara, is that you?
Everybody's on. Jenny, Lynn, Clara, they're all on mute.
They can do
Hi,
that.
Mary.
Oh, hi.
Mary.
Yes.
Okay, I'm unmuted for a second.
Yes.
Should I talk about what I did in resilience?
Yes. Just
Yeah,
briefly.
okay.
Play. Thank you.
I won't give a speech. Okay. So, well, I'm trying to do several things. I'm trying to be more adaptable. So when I hit a crossroads or I hit an obstacle, I'm trying to more quickly get around it and not make it a big deal. And I'm doing that. So that's going to give me greater resilience. I'm also trying to cope with anxiety better so that when I get down hard on myself, I'm practicing some cues to help me get through that too. And both of those things are helping with resilience.
Great. Perfect. Anyone else?
My
Lynn?
one goal, and that's all I really have, is one, well, I have had another one, but it's long and involved, is stop procrastinating. Stop procrastinating so much. It's measurable. If I can sit down and watch TV at 9 o'clock and not say, I ought to go clean the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's measurable. Or, darn, I forgot to make my bed this morning and I hate crawling into an unmade bed. It is measurable and it's attainable, but it's going to be a struggle every day. I don't think it will ever become second nature to me to just jump up and do things unless they're fun.
Well, and there's some research on that, Theresa, and there's some advantages, if you will, to procrastinating, because sometimes our brain needs to think about things and to organize things, and putting things off for 10 years may be a little long, or till we die, it may be a little bit long, but there's also some advantages to procrastinating in that you can maybe say, I don't even need to do that at all. Why am I even doing that? Because we get in habits of just doing things. So don't beat yourself up. But Theresa, you guys know we've been friends for a long time, and she sent me an email right after we talked about resilience and the first class and said, I'm going to stop procrastinating tomorrow. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay, Wendy.
I think for regarding these short-term, long-term goals, and the ones that you procrastinate on for sometimes forever, that if you pick a really difficult one and work on it for a very short time, then pick one that's doable, like do the dishes or
make
whatever.
Yeah.
That it kind of will keep you moving along a little bit.
It does. And what Rhonda said about the 10 minutes at a time, that's called Swiss cheesing. Oh, I'll just do it for 10 minutes, and then perhaps you'll keep going longer. So there's lots of tricks of the trade there. But what I want to really talk about is creativity. What did you do? What did you do? What did you do? And welcome, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yes, glad to see you. No, well, see you. Yeah, there you are. Yeah. All right, what did you do for creativity this week? No one wants to go first. Lynn.
Well, I'll go first. I went to visit my sister in Amagansett on Long Island, and we bicycled, and then we went to Montauk, and we did a hike. I wasn't aware, when she said we're going to go hiking in Montauk, I thought, well, isn't that sand and water? No, it's woods. And she said, no, make sure, I had on sandals and like beachwear, and we're going through this forest, and it was lovely. We had a lovely time together, and then a couple days later, I realized I had gotten I counted like 21 bites.
Oh
And it
my.
turned into blisters. I'm on Benadryl right now. If I fall asleep, just clap your hands or something. But so that was it was a nice visit, but that was I wouldn't say a great example of creativity. But I want to talk also about the 10 minutes, which I love, because I've been doing that with piano, because I see a lot of clients during the week. I'm working, so I don't have that much time. And
Yeah.
10 minutes of piano sometimes turns into 25 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
turns into a half an hour. And I have another goal of going through my journals and taking out pieces that I want to save and typing them out.
Oh.
I actually have an old typewriter because I like the feeling of
Mm-hmm.
typing rather than a screen. It just feels better to me. So that's one of my,
Oh, good.
that's been a long time goal. I'm going to use the 10 minutes for that too.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit every day, set up the typewriter so it's all ready to go. And so I don't think I've done anything unusual for creativity, but I feel I use it a lot in my work.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else did something creative this week?
Yeah. Like Lynn, well, her music is her creativity. And so my choreography and my job, my exercise personal training job is my creativity to create programs for people and to choreograph. And that's my time is when I do the choreography. Like you set time, Lynn, for your just play the piano instead of teach it,
Yeah,
So yeah. So that's just similar.
Good. And it's wonderful. Your
Oh,
choreography is wonderful.
okay.
It is fun.
Mary,
Ah, yes.
are you going to address my comment after class, or should I bring it up?
Your done list?
No.
Oh, what?
So my question was, we all have these creative things that we shared, but what do you do when you get to the point where you can't do those creative things anymore?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, then what? Then how do you address creativity? That was my question. Okay, that's it.
Well, we're getting to the age where sometimes our hands won't work or we can't take those long hikes. Jessica?
I guess that's been my creativity this week, is just because I'm still recovering from this hand surgery and can finally zipper up the zipper on my hoodie in the morning. It's taken over a month. But like Clara was saying, it's a tendency, I think, of one's mind to focus on what I can't do and get extremely frustrated and anxious about, but I want to do this and I should be doing that, and and I can't do this, and then just stopping and taking a breath and go, well, what can I do? It's not on the big list, but I can do little things, and be okay with that. But it's been a real been a lot of work to not get anxious over what I physically can't do that I'm used to doing, like everything,
Right.
and just focus on the basic, simplest things,
Yeah.
and be okay with that. Just takes a lot of creative effort on the mind's part. I got to trick it sometimes.
Yeah. A lot of self-talk.
Self-talking.
Yeah.
I'm
But
happy.
that's,
Mary,
yes. Who's? Lynn?
Mary?
Go ahead.
Yeah, oh, Clara. Okay.
Oh, okay. I think I'm the most creative when I'm alone, and oftentimes I'm walking, fast walking, something like that, and I just go and I flow. I can listen to music in my head, and I can even figure out the notes. So that's to Jessica's. There's so much you can do. Maybe it's self-talk, but it's also it's just your creative soul. I'm sorry, I'm in traffic. Your creative soul sort of swimming or sort of slow dancing for me. And it sort of takes me places if I let it, and I'm learning how to let it more.
Yeah.
Good. Any
I
other
like that
comments?
very much.
Oh, go ahead, Lynn.
Well, I'm just trying to imagine being in that position of not being able to do what I do. But I think as life gets simpler and more basic, we need less, you know. I used to go to this class that Lynn Redgrave gave at the Home for Old Actors in Calabasas, California. And so there was a wonderful woman there. We would go and bring some of the old people into the auditorium to participate in this Shakespeare class that she was giving. And, there was a woman who used to work for Hitchcock, very dignified, lovely woman in her 90s. And her room was so sparse. And I wanted to get her a radio or a tape machine. She said, oh, no, dear, nothing, no. And not even a cup. But we would take her into this Shakespeare class, and she would just be absolutely enthralled at how it was being taught and the actors who went up and did the Shakespeare. So that started me thinking of, when I get old, I probably will have a room with a bed and a light and try to be okay with that, I mean, simple things like John talks about making tea. Making tea can be a very creative process. It can be very mindful and very fulfilling. And I like what Clara said about hearing music in her head.
Yeah.
Creating music in her head. We have to accept the fact that we're all we have, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot, even old.
Yeah.
As long as we're breathing, we have a lot within us. We have our whole lifetime within us. And, there's nothing bad about sitting on the porch and rocking and thinking of the wonderful things you did in your life. The wonderful teachers you had and the wonderful people that you loved and who loved you. I look forward to that. Life simple, without all the distractions and, please, no cell phone, no screens, just maybe some birds in the trees,
Yeah. Great.
So, yeah.
Well, I have to share with you, I dragged Jessica into a memory lane about our favorite foods as children. And we're 4 years apart, but had and then there's the young one over there with the hand. She's a lot younger than us, but we were talking about food as we were driving to go to Cedar Creek for our walk. And Jessica, do you remember what's your favorite?
My first one was blueberry pancakes.
With?
Oh, bacon and maple syrup and butter.
So we had this wonderful reminiscence driving to the forest to walk about our favorite foods. Mine was fudgesicles, but I like the pancakes too. But it just kind of, when you can reminisce, as Lynn was saying, about some of those things, it can just open up your mind, and then we can explore it like Clara was talking about. You guys are so awesome. Awesome. But let's move on, okay? I want to, Teresa didn't receive her book because I put the wrong address on it, and I apologize, and I'll send her a new one. But everyone else get your book? Oh, then got it. Everyone else get it? Good. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Well, the other thing that I was going to talk about as far as goal setting is called the PATH, P-A-T-H. And it's a very kind of, I'll say, complicated, and I'll send you handouts about it if you're interested. But it's kind of a complicated, to me, system. But what it is visual. And a lot of people do visual boards or some kind of visual representation of what they want to do. We could take pictures of the road larch and then, you know, superimpose Rhonda walking up and down on it if we wanted. We could get Lynn's rocking chair and, you know, put down all of the things that we wanted to think about. But I think the point is, if you're doing goals, you can use pictures, you can use music, you can use poetry, you can use things from magazines. It doesn't have to be words like we were talking about with Brian Tracy or even with SMART goals. Anybody ever do a vision board or a storyboard?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Several of you have. And it's, again, just a visual representation. But I think for some people who don't, you know, the written word is not it, but pictures might be, or music might be, or poetry, something like that. Any comments on that? Yes? No? No?
That's
That's
good.
creative. Oh, sorry.
Yes, it is creative. It is.
Creative goal setting.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a chore. Maybe that's the point. All right. Did anybody, when you were kind of doing your creative things this week, get into what we called flow? The total absorption of what you were doing? Jenny, you're saying yes?
Well, is that like working on the right side of your brain?
Could be. Yeah.
So, yes, because I decided that I didn't need to go buy cards. I should make them all. And so I should be creative with all this junk I have around here.
Great.
And so that's what I did. And once you get into there and you get on the right side of your brain, you kind of just kind of go with the flow. And it's always very relaxing. It's just sometimes you can't get there.
Right. Anybody else experience flow this week at all? Lynn?
In meditation, sometimes when I'm really, when I'm lucky, all of a sudden something clicks and I start seeing these, sometimes it's a shining ball that will get bigger and then kind of fade away. And then another one will come and it'll get bright and then it'll fade away. And that's when I know it's just such a feeling of bliss.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of there's no
It
thought,
is.
you know, it's just this feeling that everything is right in the world,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's lovely.
It is lovely. And it's not easily attained. And I think that's the thing. If you didn't experience it, that's okay. It comes once in a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually stay very long. We can't say stay in a sustained state. Try saying that 3 times of flow. It comes in little bits, and just to know about it and appreciate it when it does happen.
Now everybody experiences it differently, you know.
Say again.
Everyone experiences it differently.
Oh, yes, yes,
you know?
Yeah. I just wanted you to be aware of that concept. So let's talk about today's lesson: cognitive fitness, self-nurturing, and cognitive reserve. Now I'm on a new system here, so I'm going to see. You're going to have to just ignore that stuff because it's too complicated for me to figure out how to get rid of it right now. So I can, but then I can't move along. So again, the topics for for this particular class, okay? And what I wanted to say was, sometimes I wonder, am I still me if I'm old? Anyone else ever feel that kind of a feeling? People look at you differently. Sometimes people think older people are behind the times, or, you know, that we're less than we used to be. Anybody ever feel that except me?
What I've noticed is, and I've had a particular problem with, Mary knows all about this, but I've had a particular problem with getting some medication replaced. And when I say I didn't get it, and you know, blah, 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 or this doesn't work, the assumption on the other end, the other person is a young man. Well, how old are you? What year were you born in? I mean, I said, I'm not senile. That's not why I can't, that's not why this thing doesn't work. It's not my fault. I'm not senile. But that was his whole attitude for about an hour while we discussed this back and forth. Was that because I was older?
Was he working for a company? You should
Mhm.
report him to the manager. I would say, I want to talk to your manager.
I did.
Set him
And
straight.
the young man said, "I'm stubborn." He didn't seem to understand. And
Well,
I
he
finally
needs
did, after
education.
making so many calls, and my pharmacist making so many calls about it. I still don't have the medication, but in time, I will get it. Because I told him, you have no idea how stubborn I am.
Well, and that's a good thing, right?
That's a good thing.
Well, we're going to actually talk about ageism in a few weeks, but I wanted to bring this up now because, again, knowing why we're using positive psychology as the basis kind of for what we're learning here, they call it a call to the adventure. And I love that, the adventure of our lives, okay? Becoming the best, making the most, despite all of the things that happen along the way. And I think that's one of the things that is so strong about us as older women, particularly, is we do have life experience, and we do have tenacity, and we do have some of those things that maybe we didn't have so much when we were younger. Anybody comment on that? Yep, Rhonda.
All right. So I'm thinking of this experience I had teaching at the junior college in the Houston area. And I was talking about this while walking on the trail with my friend Vince, who was visiting. And anyway, one of the things that cracked me up was, you know, I'm like this mid-50s woman, right? And we're switching in the middle of the semester to an online platform. I haven't taught, you know, biology in 25 years or more. And so, you know, I'm like, okay, so all of a sudden we're not, you know, just I'm out of practice teaching, period. Now we're switching to an online platform in the middle of the semester. And what was funny to me was all of the students, not all of them, but most of the students having this mental state of, well, you're the professor, you know everything. And it was like, well, you guys are like the computer age people. You should be teaching me. Why am I, you know, it was just kind of funny where we both had, you know, from their perspective, since I was the professor, I was supposed to know how to use the learning management system, you know, regardless of my experience, my age or whatever. And I was laughing going, wait a minute, you guys like grew up with this stuff. Why aren't you showing me? So it was kind of funny how, because of the label behind my name, the expectation was I was going to be this expert and I was going to teach them. So it was just kind of a reverse situation. But, you know, yeah, it was just from I would have never, ever expected that.
Well, I think we've all had bits and pieces of that kind of expectation. So my solution is one of them, let's keep our brains fit, right? We're working on our bodies, but let's also keep our brains fit. So if you will, this screen sharing stuff is awkward.
No, it's not, Mary. You got it.
Yeah, but yeah.
Keep your brain young.
That's it. That's it. So if you will, thank you, sister. Let's look at the fitness book, the cognitive fitness book, page 3, if you will. And that says cognitive, and for Theresa, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'll catch up when I'll catch up when I get the book.
Okay. Cognitive fitness, your number one health goal. Does that kind of surprise you? Didn't you think it was your body? Kathy? Well, they're so interconnected and intertwined. So what you do for your body, you do for your brain, and vice versa. But it basically, Theresa, it tells here about all of the things that your brain does for you. And you know, that's, we know those things in general, but I think they've got a nifty little table here at the top of page 3, table 1, which delineates what perception is, what attention is, what memory is, all of these things that our brains really regulate. Have you had a chance to kind of look at this? I'm showing you this table at all?
No.
No? Well, it's just an overview. Again, we know our brains are powerful, powerful things. And this delineates for us a little bit about what they are. The biggest section is called executive functions. And these are the things that happen automatically. Flexibility, capacity to switch, theory of mind, insight into people's worlds, anticipation, pattern recognition. This is really big in the world of cognitive fitness. Problem solving, decision making, all of those kinds of things that we've been talking about and will continue to talk about. Then it delineates everything that it takes for our brains to answer the door when the doorbell rings. If you haven't looked at it, it's kind of funny, but yet it shows you how complex just something that simple is. The perception, you hear the ring, remembering the memory, you remember the sound, inference making, someone's at the door. It just goes down all of these things that have to happen inside our brain for us to be able to go to the door and answer the bell. Amazing, just amazing to me. Have you ever thought about all that stuff that's involved with cognitive fitness? I'm excited about it. But it's keeping our brain healthy just as we keep our bodies healthy. So see if I can get to my thing here. You're seeing too much. Sorry. So what do you do to keep cognitively fit? I want us to share as many ideas as we can so that I can make a handout and send it to you with all kinds of ideas. So what do you do to be cognitively fit? And I can't see you. Well, I can turn this off. This is just to get you going. Some ideas here. What do you do to be cognitively fit? Lynn.
I think my profession helps a lot.
Okay.
Being able to listen to people and being able to try to put the puzzle together of what is the next best plan for them.
Okay.
You know, one of my goals actually, which I just started was I got a city bike, but I hadn't used it much until last week I got on it and rode to the East River. And I said, well, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to make time. It doesn't take much time to do that, but just to get a glimpse of the water, is such a wonderful thing when you live in the middle of the city. So that's stimulating.
Yes.
And of course, my meditation is really important. The discipline of that changes everything, and yeah, so those are a few of my things.
And we'll talk about Marty Seligman in a few minutes. He's kind of the father of positive psychology, but one of the things he said is meaningful work. Meaningful work is so very important. Other authors say nature, getting into nature. Here in Ruidoso, that's easy for us. So I'm glad, Lynn, that you found a way to really do that living in the middle of a city. When I lived in Tulsa, Theresa and I would go to gardens and we would just sit and absorb nature and look at the bees and the beautiful flowers, right, Theresa? All those trips we made to Philbrook and things like that. Okay, who else has some ideas of how to keep cognitively fit?
I think just the challenge of thinking about things in a different way, whether it's local news, that, like, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is the divide between the two races. And it all starts with individuals. So I've been sitting here thinking, how can one person start a change, or how can one person make a change in that? I don't have any answers yet, but I think that's part of cognitive fitness, is taking something you've never really seriously given thought to, that's a problem, and trying to puzzle out some sort of answer.
Oh, absolutely. And so much better than what I do, which is spider solitaire. You're really thinking about problem solving. And again, who knows, you may come up with solutions, but I think sometimes we can think about those things and it really brings it home to us. Very good.
There's these big problems, and you think it's, well, I'm just one person, I can't do anything, and I'm not even an important person. So why should I even bother? But all big changes really should start at the grassroots level. Yeah. And that's an individual. It's man to man or woman to woman. It's
right.
And I'm still sitting thinking about it.
You're already making a change, by
right.
talking about it and putting it into our minds. That is how it starts. Thinking about it, taking it seriously. So now we all have this to take with us and say, okay, how can I be of service, And we really, as we change ourselves, we change the world.
Yes, absolutely. Who else? Do you sleep? How's your sleep?
I sleep good.
Yeah, sleep is really, really important. And we'll talk a little bit about sleep later on, but it's really important. The other night we had, the garbage trucks started going by on our street at 3:30 a.m. So wake up for that because it's right up there. But then our smoke alarms started going off. Beep, beep. Like Chinese water torture. All three of us are, sleeping in different rooms, but we all could hear it. And it was like, oh, and then you just kind of anticipate it and it stops. So you go, oh, good, I can go back to sleep. And pretty soon then, beep, beep. I did not get a good sleep that night. And I know my sisters didn't either. It was horrible. It was horrible. So sleep, basic thing. What else do you do?
Naps are good too.
Do what?
Naps.
Naps.
Yeah, napping. We love
in the
it.
afternoon.
What else? Do I need to put my slide up again here just to give you a little bit of ideas?
Learning something new.
Learning something new?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a board game or a
Mm-hmm.
online game or a language or a, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know about Duolingo?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I do.
That's
Mhm.
fun.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, got my Spanish and my French and my Italian going.
My daughter and I are doing
Good.
German. We,
Oh, yeah, I need to do that one.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's a fun, free
I never thought
program.
to do that.
It's
Yeah.
free.
It's free, and it's just it's like a game.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
really?
is.
You pass a level, you know.
And-
I'm going to beat that level.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Kathy.
To win.
How about eating right? How about exercising? Very important things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kathy,
Yep.
Kathy's
to do
going
that.
to talk to us in a couple of weeks and maybe lead us through some simple exercises. Simple would be the would be the word.
Like breathing.
Yeah, like breathe. Well, and that is. Clara and I go to this CAP meeting, Center for Applied Positive Psychology, and last night again they had us start off this hour-and-a-half meeting with breathing exercises, and it was just so relaxing, and it opens your mind, but it gets that oxygen up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's you know, it's Pilates and it's yoga and it's all that, but
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Pilates, you know, it's his philosophy. It's body, mind, breath, control. So he called it contrology.
Mm,
So you know, it all flows. So then you get the flow.
right. So body, mind, breath, and what else?
Control. Body,
Control.
mind, breath, control.
Okay. And who was the
And he called it contrology.
controller? And who is he?
Joseph Pilates.
Oh, Pilates. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, okay. All right. Anything else that you do for cognitive fitness?
Well, I'm cheating. On page 7 it says, social contacts, manage your
Mhm.
stress.
Yep.
Uh,
Social contact, so important, and yet it was kind of taken away from us,
Yeah.
wasn't it? And maybe we didn't realize how important it was till we had to do it in a different way. And really, my granddaughter's going to school now. This is her 3rd day of school, and the kids wear masks all day long. They've adapted.
yeah, yeah. Kids are so resilient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, one more thing. Anybody, one more thing that you do for cognitive?
Mary,
Yes. Yes, Clara.
I'm sorry I lost you, and I came back.
That's good.
And so I missed a little bit of cognitive fitness. For me, so maybe you said this, I'm realizing that I have to constantly challenge myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings up insecurity and anxiety because it's like, you know, like your class on Tuesdays, this Essentials of Technology. I was a wreck last week.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do anything. So, but I absolutely believe in it. I believe that like learning German or really taking kind of substantial steps to do something you might have always thought would be fun, but you were kind of scared to do. That whole concept of learning curve, I think is fundamental to cognitive fitness. And a learning curve often has a ton of obstacles in it.
Yes.
Mary and I know that.
Yeah.
But can you respond to that, or maybe you did talk about that? I think cognitive fitness is a tough thing.
We didn't talk about it, Clara, but you're exactly right. I mean, just teaching on Zoom for me is a whole new ball game. You know, normally
Yeah.
we'd be sitting in this lovely room that I'm in, and we could break up into groups and talk and come back with answers, or I could pass things out. You know, that's all different now. And having to, you know, switch back and forth and do this and do this, I'm like, yeah, the first week I was a wreck. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
easier
you and
now.
I were a wreck. You and I were a wreck even just putting all this together. But
Right.
I think sometimes people think cognitive fitness is more like playing games, and I don't think it is. I think pushing your creative juices to as Teresa said, climb up those stairs, those hills, just really push yourself, and then be totally surprised how good it feels.
Yeah. Eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
All right.
I think
that.
it's underrated.
Can I share it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Rhonda.
So I think I've also told you guys about my year of inactivity, where I felt like I had no purpose except for scrubbing toilets. Actually, I like pulling weeds because it's meditative, but not scrubbing toilets. Anyway, my whole life I've, been searching, I guess, and have constantly challenged myself to do things that were outside of my comfort zone, whether by choice or by necessity. And I think that's why it was so hard for me that year, because I wasn't doing anything to learn or grow or do anything different. And I felt like I was getting really stupid. I mean, I spent 13 years as a patent attorney, and that was, every single patent application was a different technology that I had to come up to speed on. And it was, and all my jobs were not in my area of expertise, which is biochemistry. These were all like related to nothing I knew anything about. So talk about being constantly mentally challenged. It can be exhausting too. But I just wasn't used to not having any sort of mental challenge. I mean, so I've really come to appreciate when I started teaching again, really understanding that challenge, that mental challenge, and that ability. Of course, I can talk to you because my background is in neurochemistry. I could talk to you all about, the biochemical processes that go, on in your brain to create those stimulations and all the pathways that Mary was talking about. But just to know about it intellectually and be able to experience that a bit, that personally, of where my brain just literally felt like mush because I was doing nothing, to where all of a sudden I was challenged again, really, really made a huge difference. And so my current challenge, because I have to multitask, is I'm teaching myself how to knit. So, it's a lot of fun. I'm like, man, I suck at this. But you know what? As I do it more and more and more, I'm getting a lot better. It's kind of, really fulfilling to see, to develop a skill, because I realized, for myself, I have to really engage my brain in something challenging to be, just to not feel mushy.
Mushy. I'll put that in the notes. No mushy.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so
beautiful.
I guess the point being, the one guy who said, a meaningful, what your creator guy, meaningful, whatever it was. See, I forgot already. Mush.
We'll have a test when I get home.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we've just got a couple of minutes before the break. So my question is, are we enthused enough now to set a cognitive fitness goal? Raise your hand. Yes.
Sure.
Okay, couple more. Clara, I can't see your hand.
I know.
Well,
I know that's on purpose, but
that's on purpose.
I'm very much like Mary that way. We seem to bound into goal after goal after goal. So of course I can.
Yes, of course you can. You were the one who taught me about cognitive fitness in the first place. So we're all going to blame
Yeah, even though
Clara.
even though I didn't know what it was, but I was so tired of my work in the senior centers where they have puzzles and bingo, as if you hit a certain age in your life, and of course you're going to embrace bingo. And it's like, no, doesn't anybody read? Doesn't anybody talk about interesting things? And that just makes me very sad.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that kind of thing in a couple of weeks, but I really challenge everybody to set a cognitive fitness goal, even if it's just to eat more broccoli, okay? Or get more sleep, or, think about big world problems like Teresa was talking about. It doesn't matter what it is. And I think Rhonda said it so beautifully. We don't want to be mush, right? We don't want to be mush. Well, I have loved this conversation. And when we come back from the break, we're going to start talking about self-nurturing, which I think is a part of our whole fitness kind of plan. So let's take, look at my watch. Let's take 5 minutes if you need to stretch or, go to the restroom, whatever. And we'll come back in about 5 minutes. Okay?
Hey, Mary.
Yes.
Jessica wasn't feeling good, so she went to go rest.
Okay.
Just so you know, why she disappeared.
I
She
wondered.
was,
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right. Okay.
We'll forgive her. We'll make her watch the video.
Okay, you do that.
Okay.
I don't know where my mouse is. Oh, it's on the wrong side.
Just about time.
And Mary,
Yes.
I hope you don't mind me. We talked about the hand-mind connection before, remember?
Yes.
So you don't mind me keeping my hands busy, do you?
I don't mind.
Okay.
I'm taking notes, so my hands are busy too.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I could do that.
Yes, you could do that.
Oh, that sounds like work, though.
Yeah. It's the way I learn, so.
Well, yes, me too. But you've already have it all written out, so I don't have a job to do. Already written out.
Well, but I love taking the notes. You guys are so informative. Oh. Here's Lynn. Clara's back, waiting on Avis there.
I'm here.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and start. We've got another big topic to talk about right now, and that is self-nurturing. And I'll just say up front, I probably have a different take on self-nurturing than maybe you thought we were going to have. And of course, it's taking care of our body, our mind, our spirit, our health. That's self-nurturing. Okay, eating right, sleeping right, all of the things we talked about with cognitive fitness. But I want to go a little bit beyond just the obvious because it's my class and so I can.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You go, girl.
Thank you, Jenny. I love it. So to me, and I wrote this in your agenda, self-nurturing is realizing how rich our lives are with experience and meaning and expressing gratitude. So it's kind of a two-pronged part of self-nurturing. I don't think anyone is, well, I'm not 100% on this all the time. I get frustrated. I get overwhelmed. My sisters see that. Clara sees that. You know, it happens, but we still can then pull back and do that deep breathing and do that exercise and get ourselves back where we feel like we're in balance. So when we discussed resiliency in the first class, one of the points that we talked about briefly was spirituality. And I want to just mention that I don't think it necessarily has to do with religion. Okay, I think spirituality is, again, being in touch with yourself, being in touch with a higher power, if you want to think about those things. But it's being our highest self. It's doing the best that we can be. And there's 4 specific criteria to getting in touch with your higher self. There may be more, but 4 that I found. 1 is that we're specifically grateful for things. 2 is reflecting, and we've talked about that a little bit. Gratitude, again, So there's three. Gratitude, again, gets us in touch with our higher selves and also allows that creativity to flow, like we were talking about, which leads us to resilience. So you see how it's all tied into each other? Does that make sense to you? Yes, I'm kind of seeing yes. Well, again, researching self-nourishing and maybe this little bit different take. What I thought was so interesting was the author that I looked at said the logistics are simple. We can't concentrate on doing two things at once. No multitasking. I always prided myself on multitasking, but it doesn't really work. Your brain can really only concentrate on one thing at a time. So if we're concentrating on being creative and resilient and giving gratitude and thanks, then we can't think about some of the other things like that are negative: self-pity, fear, boredom, and irritation. Any comments on that?
In gratitude, sometimes it's sort of hard. If you don't feel well or you're physically limited, you're not able to do what you used to do and you're really upset about it. It's necessary, I think, to go back and think, okay, don't worry about the things you can't do. Be grateful for what you have or what you can do. Don't sit and worry about or fret about what you can't do. Mm-hmm. You just have to find that sort of almost turn off part of your mind.
Yeah. And that takes us back to the question that Rhonda posed earlier. What do you do if you can't physically do some of the things that you used to be able to do? And I think you're exactly right, Theresa. You give thanks for what you can do.
You have to find the plan B.
Plan B, I like that. Or C or D.
Life is all about plan B.
Yeah, plan B. Or C or D.
And Mary, when we're in our positive psychology group together, they talk about self-talk.
Yes.
As if it was kind of a whole theory. Well, maybe it is. I guess it is. But I mean, I didn't know that. And that has helped me a lot. I mean, obviously I'm doing it all the time. So I go, oh man, I really blew it on that one. I want to feel better. And just let yourself go with the talk of how, sort of go into the resilience part of your brain. Well, what would I do? What would I say to somebody else if that was happening? And then you just sort of keep at it. And then I don't know if you feel this way, but I think sometimes self-talk brings you back to really liking yourself. Or could be, anyway. Could.
What?
Pardon?
It brings you back to, I didn't hear that.
It brings you back to feeling much more solid and liking yourself.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't do A, B, C, but I did half of A. Oh, that was really kind of fun. I'm very grateful that I did it. But there's got to be a way we can self-talk ourselves back into health.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Mary's going to teach us how to do that, right, Mary?
Mary. we are going to talk about self-talk quite a bit, but not necessarily today. Yeah.
Okay.
It's important. Yes, Lynn.
I think it's so important to accept where we are. It's a humbling experience to have your life is getting a little more narrow, and to accept that is really important. To accept it and say, I did the best I could. That's all you need to do. At the time, the best you could do is so small, but still, we have to learn to forgive ourselves, and we can't have the expectations we once had.
Right.
But as far as, saying, am I the same person now that I'm old? I've never felt stronger, wiser, better as a human being. Just because our culture disposes of the elderly and has a feeling that the young are the only people that need to be catered to because they're where the money comes. It's a very lopsided culture. And in other cultures, they revere the elderly for their wisdom. And I revere the elderly. I mean, my best teachers have been very wise people. So anyway.
No, you're exactly right, Lynn.
Good.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But I guess what I was saying, I have to forgive myself so many times a day. If I drop something, if I do something, and I just have gotten into saying, it's okay. Just kind of a little pat on my back. It's okay. So
Yeah.
that that self-talk is helpful to me. When I something happens that was a mistake, just being very kind to myself. It's okay. And it always is.
Yeah.
But we have these expectations of ourselves as we never make a mistake. We make so many mistakes. We're so flawed as human beings.
Right.
And there's a gratitude in that too.
One of the techniques that I used to teach teachers when I was doing that teacher education, when a child is frustrated or something doesn't happen that they want, is to say with the hand action, oh well.
That's good.
And as I've been taking the Noom weight loss program, that's one of the techniques that they say also when you're trying to lose weight and maybe you blow it that day or whatever, is to say, oh well. And it's a form of forgiveness for yourself. And I like it with the hand motion because it kind of releases maybe some of that tension or some of that anxiety, that frustration, is just to say, oh well. And my granddaughter says it all the time because they're also into Becky Bailey, whose theories are big in early childhood. But it's so freeing, I think, just to say, next time, maybe next time. So being forgiving of ourselves, hugely important, hugely important. Any other comments on just the opening about self-nurturing? Rhonda, the hand.
I know. So, okay, this goes back to the beginning of the semester when we were switching from in-person to online. And I was really fortunate because the school I was working with had tons of professional development. And I took this one class from this one really awesome lady. And, this is in relation to, designing online classes or designing classes in general, but I kind of like it because it's such a great visual. And one of her slides was a picture where, you start out with this drawing of a horse, and it's this beautiful drawing of this horse. The front half of the horse is this beautiful drawing, detailed, flowing mane. That's your vision of how, your class is going to be. And then the reality ends up being the hind end of the horse, which is like a stick horse. It's like, okay, somewhere along the line, you start realizing that you can't maintain this beautiful flowy mane and elaborate drawing with a ton of details, and you end up with a stick figure. But it's okay because you still got the job done. And I guess the point being, you can only do, we have these intentions of being, whatever, and then sometimes reality comes in and you have to just accept, yep, the stick figure horse is good enough. And I really enjoyed that visual because it was just kind of like, yeah, I just kind of picture that in my head anytime I feel like, okay, I haven't lived up to the expectation that I had set for myself, and said, was it a stick figure? Well, it may have been a dotted line figure. But
Yeah.
it was still good enough, is that whole, did I try? Did I do my best? Was I, and if not, well, I can try and build on my stick figure.
Right.
Anyway, I love the visual of the horse with the hind end of the stick. It was great.
Good visual. Yeah. Well, let's talk about gratitude for just a minute. I was going to play 3 minutes of Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, who we met in the first class that we had, but there was some troubles pulling up this video here in this particular room. So you have this reference, and if you want to look at the videotape, start at 1:20 minutes. And it goes about 3 minutes. He's talking about gratitude. And I'm not going to show it because I can't, I don't know how, but it's there in the handout if you want to look at it. But what he says is all of the physical reasons for gratitude, how it helps us physically. You know, we kind of think about, okay, it's going to give me better mental health. It's going to get me more on line with the universe and with myself. But there are physical ramifications, positive physical ramifications. And I just thought that was fascinating, that thinking, writing good thoughts can also help our physical as well as our mental health. Anyone ever give thought to that kind of a connection with gratitude? Well, maybe you will now. So gratitude isn't just saying, oh, thanks for doing the dishes, like I said to my sister this morning. Thanks for doing the dishes. It's more than that. And what they say is an antidote to negativity is a gratitude journal. And I will, if I can find it, show you my gratitude journal. Nope, I guess I won't. I brought it. It's not where did it go? Anyway, it's just a little notebook that I write in, and Ben-Shahar says to write evenings about the things you were grateful for that day. And they did research on this and how much it helps. I like to write mine in the morning. So I write my 3 gratitudes in the morning, and it kind of sets my day then in that mode of being grateful for different things. And I wanted to show you just some excerpts from my journal. Senior discount day at Albertsons. Big important one to me.
I missed that one.
That was yesterday, Judy.
Yesterday.
Or Wednesday, yeah.
Yes.
I'm grateful for my granddaughter Olive that you see over here in this little picture. I'm grateful for internet banking. I'm grateful for Kathy's exercise class, first at the community center, now at Zoom. I'm always grateful for a good night's sleep. This one you'll love. I'm grateful for the U.S. Post Office and UPX and FedEx because I've been doing a lot of online shopping and they bring it to me. They bring it to me. And I'm grateful for my car because I can go places. So, you know, it doesn't have to be big, wonderful things. It can be big, wonderful things, but it also, your gratitudes can just be simpler things. So just off the top of your head, what are some of the things that you're grateful for?
My husband.
Okay, Rhonda.
My pets.
Oh, yes, Avis, your pets. And they bring such joy to us, don't they? I love having 2 dogs,
When they're
2
not
big
being
dogs.
aggravating.
Yes, like children, right? Yeah. What else? Clara?
As Clara, I'm such a better whole person because of the nature around me. So I hardly ever miss, Mary and I have been practicing sometimes 3 gratitudes a day. I hardly ever miss one that has to do with nature. So I saw a praying mantis the other day, and I just stayed with it for a while. And it meant a lot to me. It really meant a lot to me.
Yes, it does. What else?
My friend's connection.
Go, Jenny.
Hmm.
Well, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, the friend's connection.
Oh,
My,
yes.
yeah, connecting.
Yeah. Friends. Teresa?
I'm so grateful that I don't have to get up and deliver papers.
Oh,
I did it as a child, and you have no idea how wonderful it is just to have to walk to the end of the driveway and pick mine up and come back in the house.
yeah. So Teresa and I were both paper deliverers. I was in the dorm where I lived on the TU campus, and she was out in the cold weather. So yes, just having that paper at the end of the driveway, biggie, biggie. What else? What else are you grateful for?
My garden
Oh,
and my students, the work that I do, with
yeah.
students and my clients.
I'm sorry. The lights just went off in this room I'm in. I have no idea how
Oh my goodness.
I'm here.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Ah,
I
wow.
know.
It might be
They must
motion
be on a
activated.
timer. Huh?
It
Yeah.
might be motion activated. You might have to go like in front of the switch
Okay, hold on just a sec. Think about your gratitudes.
or wherever the sensor is.
I think health is an important one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Very
don't
much.
take
Yes.
we take it for granted
Until we don't.
until
Till something happens. That's true.
Well, yeah. Just like with Jessica's hand, I mean, and then all of a sudden you're just incapacitated because it's not your normal.
I'm in the light. Okay, I heard you talking about health.
yes.
Okay.
And just on a personal note, I was legally blind. Let's see, I was 18. I've been wearing glasses since I was 18 months old. And so when the eye surgery came out not that long ago, the lens implants, and it's mostly for cataracts, but it worked for me. So all those years, how old is that? Gosh. Anyway, being legally blind, not little things. I couldn't see the alarm clock in the morning without putting my glasses on. I couldn't tell the shampoo from the conditioner if they were the same color.
Oh,
Just teeny little things that most people take for granted.
Oh,
for
that's
sure.
true, Kathy. Yeah.
No, my kids, my family, my kids, and then, and then that, because that was, for years, there was no cure. There was no cure. And the father of my children is an eye doctor, and he is very, very cautious. So, I'd heard about it, I'd read about it, this surgery, and he kept saying, no, 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 because it isn't perfected yet. So I waited probably later than I really wanted to have it done. But I was petrified because I do had more vision in one eye than the other. So when they were operating on my good eye, I was totally freaked.
Oh, yeah.
Lose any of that vision. So anyway, it's health. It's good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Had no idea, Kathy.
No idea. Yeah, yeah, and it's not something you go around and say, hey, by the way.
Yeah, right, right.
When I play pickleball, if it's over on this side, man, I work hard. Because the vision's really good on this side. Yeah.
Clara. Clara,
Yes,
uh,
yes. Oh,
are you
what I'm
chiming in?
grateful for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not chiming in. I already did my praying mantis. I just really practicing, Mary, on the 3 grateful things every day. And when you started the class and talked about goals, I think probably right now that's the goal I want. I want to make sure I do this every day. And then I write it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good enough for me right now, goal-wise.
Before the class started, Jenny had mentioned that she got the book Artist's Way, which I referenced
Yes, I know
last
that.
week.
Yeah.
I love that book. But
So do
she
I.
has you do 3 pages a day.
Yeah,
Pages a day.
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, not necessarily of gratitude, but just writing that for the discipline of it. And when I was, actually doing the class, I did the 3 pages. So I'm just asking you to do 3 items. How kind I am? Yeah.
I might get 3 items. I don't think I'll get 3 pages.
Oh, it was tough. And some days, Jenny, I would write, I hate writing this. I hate writing this. I hate writing.
Oh, I'm glad
just
you
to
did
get
that because that's what I think at the very beginning when
Yeah.
anything, they tell me to write something. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
But the thing about writing it, or Lynn will put it to music, or write a poem about it, or think and then draw it, is it gives us clarity. It gives us clarity. And I think that's one of the reasons for writing things down or doing them in some other kind of creative way. Yes, they can pass through our brains and that's good that we're even thinking about it. But to get that clarity is important. So I challenge you guys this week to try it for a couple of days. Write down 3 things. I don't care if it's morning or evening, middle of the day, sporadically through the day. If it floats your boat, I think it'll be something that becomes a lifelong habit. Are you game?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got my book out.
There'll be a test. No. All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit more, of course, about self-care. And I want to bring you to, my new hero, Marty Seligman, father of positive psychology. And I've purchased all of his books. Yeah. But this, you can't see this. You have it referenced in your handout, but this is Authentic Happiness. And he starts off by saying he was probably one of the least happy people that you would ever know when he got into the whole phase of positive psychology, which is normal or regular psychology. Past psychology is helping people who have disabilities or some kind of stress or some kind of issue to get them to balance, to normal. Positive psychology is taking people who are already there or maybe almost there and helping them to be the best that they can be. So I love his book. And if you had a chance to print out the handout or take a look at the handout that I sent yesterday, I give you a lot more information from Seligman. I'm turning to it myself right now. Where is Marty? Anyway, he's talking about knowing your strengths. And I think this is an important part of our whole self-care and self-realization kinds of things. So he talks about 6 what he calls virtues. Kind of a strange name for what he thinks are the most important things that we do and we look at. And they are wisdom and knowledge, courage, love and humanity, justice, temperance, spirituality, and transcendence. Now, what he did, or what many people did who came up with this list, is look at a lot of world religions, a lot of cultures, a lot of just way people organize their lives, and they came up with these 6 things. So he calls them ubiquitous. ever-reaching, all over the place kind of things. But they are not standalone items. Each of these virtues has several what he calls strengths that make up that particular virtue. And I want to encourage you, and I have done this, and it's quite interesting, but I've given you on this handout, I've given you his website, which is called Authentic Happiness. And if you go in there, you can take the character strengths survey. Now, if you happen to buy the book, it's also in the book. But but what he's doing is he's helping us see how we relate to each one of these strengths, because he says we all have them. Sometimes they're more in our lives, sometimes they're less. If they're less, we can build on them. But he's also gathering research. And there's a whole list of different kind of surveys that you can take on his website, Authentic Happiness. And next week we'll talk about the one on grit, but you can take it now if you want to. But what it'll do is give you an indication of the things that are strong in you. Has anyone ever done any of these kinds of surveys where you look at your strengths or look at, we don't want to say weaknesses, but things that aren't as strong? Anybody into that? Okay. I used to take them in Cosmo all the time, but we've advanced a little bit since Cosmo, haven't we? Hopefully. But it's very interesting what he says makes up each one of these virtues. And the whole point of this is, he says that when you know your strengths, you can use them. And he delineates 4 different areas, which I've got on there: in your work, in your love, in your play. And he says parenting, but I'm going to say relationships, since a lot of us have grown children, our relationships. And if you think that these strengths really represent you, that will help you as you do whatever that you want to with your life, if you play to your strengths. Is any of that making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me.
Well, this is Clara, and I've been
Yes.
taking this assessment for years, and I change, which is interesting. I didn't know one did.
Yes. Change.
Yeah, I've gotten much more involved in spirituality. Not that I really understand it, but obviously it is a fountain of safety for me, safe care, self-care. So that's an interesting thing. I just promoting it and saying, take it and then take it again. But it is a little metaphor. They used the example years ago of sort of more sort of neutral European countries where people tended to have very similar virtues. And it talked about sort of a field of flowers, and all the flowers were the same height. And in America, people are loving to be individualized and diverse. And we're like poppies, and some grow really tall and some don't. But it was interesting to me because we all have a different menu of our strengths. And it is wonderful, I think, Mary, to lean on our strengths. It
Yes.
works.
Yeah. And I think what you said, Clara, is so important. Our strengths can change. And so, take a look at that. Maybe I'll be Dr. Phil now. How's that working for you? And if it's not, take a look. Maybe you've got some strengths that are in other areas now that we're a little bit more mature than some of the other things. Other comments? Well, I'm going to challenge you to take a look at this quiz, okay? It's free. It's anonymous. I mean, they may gather a little bit of data. I don't remember. I took it a while back, but I think it gives, at least to me, it gave me a starting point, I guess, for, you know, what is my personal mission? What is important to me? What is my purpose? And how can I further it? Okay, so that's on your handout. Back to your agenda now. Couple more ways that came up for self-care. And Rhonda had mentioned this last week. Thank you. That is your done list. Your done list. And I found some reference to it on the internet, and it sounded pretty good. Trade your to-do list for a done list. And she really goes into information about why this is important and why it kind of helps people who, oh, I don't want to do a to-do list, but oh, I did get some things done. And I loved her analogy. Each time you do something and write it down, you get that little rush of endorphins that the mouse gets every time he presses the button on his cage and gets a food pellet. So the done list can be a reinforcer for those good habits that we're trying to build. Rhonda, did you want to say anything more about that? Nope. Okay. Well, again, if you have your agenda on your computer, all you have to do is click on that link and you can bring up the article that was written. So thanks for that. And then last on self-care, something from Avis. Appreciate you guys sending me all these references. I'm working them in, you know, because they're so wonderful. But this is called the Pocket Guide, 25 ideas that could change your life. And again, if you scroll into that link there, you can see 25 things that will help you with your self-nurturing and cute pictures that go with it. Avis, did that come from New York
Actually,
Times?
a friend forwarded that to me.
Okay. Well, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And again, I have to be, you know, aware of copyright things, and, you know, I can't just, well, I can anyway, just pass them out to you. But again, if you want just a fun, handy kind of reminder of things to do for self-nurturing, this pocket guide is it. Any more comments on self-nurturing?
Just be kind to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Be kind.
You know, and one thing I'm working on is there's tasks, you know, whether it's neighborhood association or neighborhood, you know, anything in the neighborhood, or down to your direct neighbors. If you wouldn't ask somebody else to do, if it's a dirty job or something you don't want, you know, you wouldn't ask somebody to do it. Don't do it yourself. You know, you have to treat yourself kindly and say, if this is so bad,
yeah,
I'm not going to ask somebody else to go do this task. I'm not doing it either.
What if it has to get done?
Yeah, what if it has to get done? That's a good question. You just...
I can't think of anything right off that really has to be done. I guess that at the end of the day, I do kind of tackle it. One of the things that really bothers me, all of this is Tulsa related. We have a tremendous amount of homeless people in the town. They ship them in from God knows where. They come in by the busfuls. And of course, the pandemic has created more homeless people. And we have a lot in our park. I mean, a lot. And I go down, I like to keep the playground area clean. And I've noticed that it's quiet. A lot of the homeless don't congregate there because it's out in the obvious. But some of them are there. And I have a card that has some telephone numbers, like for mental health, if you need a place, you know, if you need housing, or if you need this. So I started handing these things out as I see, they're not the chronically homeless. I'd say temporary homeless. And there are a couple of people that have taken my cards. I've never seen them again, which means they found housing or shelter. And that's one of the things that I would have to be careful who I ask to do that, because you have to be tactful and you have to trust your own instinct on who I can walk up to and who I can't.
But again, that's giving you a purpose, some meaningful work that Seligman talks about, helping others. What a wonderful way to interact with others during the day. Thank you for sharing that. All righty, we're going to go to section 3, and you're going to love this. I'm going to give you a pop quiz. Ooh! So can you see this on your screen? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
I see Rhonda nodding. All of you go away except one person when I do the screen share, so it's kind of disconcerting. All right. So my question is, what is your brain's ability to improvise and find alternate ways of getting a job done? A, cognitive fitness.
You need to go
B,
out, guys.
cognitive reserve.
Okay, come on.
C, cognitive complexity. D, cognitive use. Or E, A and B. What do you think?
All of the above.
All of
Yeah.
the above.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Well, I made up some of them. So not all of the above. That wasn't a choice. What do you think?
A and B.
A and B? Okay. Anybody else? Your first pop quiz.
I don't see him anymore. Oh,
No, I took them down.
oh,
Do you need to see them again?
no. A and B is fine.
A and B's fine. Well, it's B, cognitive reserve.
They-
I
Back to
debated.
that screen.
Do what? You want me to go back to it?
Yeah, go back. Let me see what
Okay.
B was.
All right. It's cognitive fitness. I mean, cognitive reserve. You
Yeah.
see it?
Remind me the definition of cognitive reserve.
Okay, I'm going to remind you because that's, oops. That's our next topic. So we'll talk about that. So thanks for asking. All right, if you go back to your book, cognitive reserve starts on page 4. Page 4. And this was a really new concept for me, or the words were. And maybe once we get into it, you'll see it's not that new, but it has a different name. And I really debated when I did that quiz, should I have A and B or just B? And I decided just B because that's what we're talking about, okay? So just to summarize, because Theresa doesn't have the book, cognitive reserve means that our wonderful brains can change the way that they operate and make additional resources available when challenges or everyday tasks need that. So it's part of the plasticity, perhaps, that we talk about of our brain, but it also is just a distinct ability to help us cope, to help us thrive. We talked about that during the resilience phase, just to be able to pivot, which we talked about a little bit with resiliency. We're not necessarily stuck going the same way when circumstances require that we change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Cognitive reserve is therefore developed over a lifetime, and the things that play into it are education, challenging work, like Lynn mentioned earlier, mental stimulation, like we've been talking about, and activities that challenge our brain. So when we're talking about cognitive fitness, when we're talking about self-nurturing, all of those things are playing into cognitive reserve, our ability to deal with stress and changing times.
Okay.
Now, interestingly to me, the concept was developed around 1980, and scientists discovered that there were individuals who showed no signs of dementia, and yet their autopsies showed advanced Alzheimer's disease. And when you think about that, that's pretty remarkable. And many scientific studies really looked at that. Now, of course, they can do brain imaging, MRIs, and they can tell. But back then, they had to wait until an autopsy was done. And it doesn't say why these people had autopsies, but they were surprised to find the Alzheimer's there when there was no indication of dementia in their daily lives. That kind of seems strange to you?
Very strange.
Very strange, yeah. So there's something going on in our brains that can help us even when we get into some of the cognitive kinds of diseases like Parkinson's, like multiple sclerosis, like stroke. And it says that maybe we don't avoid them, maybe they just are less or delayed longer. There's something going on, and they've named it cognitive reserve. So it helps us cope with unexpected life events. Talk to me about your reactions on that. Because we're going to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia in a couple of weeks, just as a specific. But yeah, Rhonda.
Makes me think of all of those stories you hear about people who were told that they couldn't do something after an accident or, something, yet they were able to. For instance, you're never going to be able to walk again, but they have the wherewithal to do it. And it's technically, statistically, they shouldn't be able to do it, but yet they are. So it just kind of makes me think of those instances where you've overcome the odds and the limitations, and how do those people do that?
Yeah, how do they do that? Well, and that, I think that's a good point. It maybe is a combination of the physical and the mental. And it's maybe not even with the mental an obvious kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, you're not saying, oh, I'm going to, mentally stimulate myself so, I'm offsetting the effects of multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, but you're doing it for other reasons. Your cognitive fitness, your self-nourishing, and look at what this byproduct is. Yay. Yes, Lynn.
I'm thinking of that too, Mary, when
Clara. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Well, I think it goes right back to resilience. And I thought of this friend of mine who finally passed away, but he had Parkinson's, and one of the things he had to do was use oxygen. So then he had to figure out how to carry his oxygen easily. And some people do it much better than others, because he was an artist. When he retired from running the School of Engineering, I think at UNM. But anyway, he did outdoor work. So we would just go around with him with all his paraphernalia, making sure the cord didn't get, ripped around. And he carried on his life and carried on his life and carried on his life. And I think he finally succumbed to the final stages of Parkinson's, but he was very good and productive for many of those years, because I think of his art and his creativity, and that old stupid oxygen was not going to get in his way.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved him.
That's the resilience. Kathy, you were going to say something?
Oh, I ran down to get it real quick, but me and my reading. Okay, there are 3 books that I have that I wanted to share with you that are similar and along these same lines, and one of them is The Body Keeps Score.
Body Keeps
It's
Score.
one of the bestsellers. It's by Bessel van der Kolk, who's an MD, and it deals with trauma and resiliency and how people cope. Another one,
Right. Tell me the name again, Kathy. I'm
The
writing it down.
Body Keeps Score.
Oh, Score. Okay.
And I loved it so much. I'm a really fast reader, you know, and so a lot of times, you know, I just zip through I just do. This book took me, it was so interesting. I would read a sentence, you know, and I go, oh, you know. So that was probably my favorite. But another one is a little harder to get through, but it's still good. It's called Social, and why our brains are wired to connect. And that's about relationships, though. And that's by Matthew Lieberman. And then the one I was looking for is called The Brain. I'll find it and I'll email it to you, whatever. But it talks about how our brains are wired and how we can rewire them, you know, to, you know, that'll be, I mean, even children that are, you know, autistic and, you know, can rewire these paths in our brain, you know, to, so when you were talking about people that can't walk and you're going to walk, you know, you're rewiring your brain. You know, it's a lot of resiliency. Yes, it's I am going to do this. I can do this. I will do this. And you can rewire your brain according to this book. It's really good.
Yes. Yes. I think that just supports the whole notion of cognitive reserve.
Uh-huh.
Lynn, you had something?
Well, it's very interesting, the rewiring of the brain. It's helpful. So when you're in a really bad, really hard circumstance, that's very, very difficult, and you persevere, you know, that's what toughens you up. That's what makes you stronger. That's what makes you more resilient.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, everyone has hard times where you're just in despair.
Right.
But if you can remember, I'm not my circumstances right now. I am a person in my circumstances, and I have to wait this out, and I have to do damage control, whatever that means, increase my self-care to get myself through this, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. But it's hell right now. You know, when we really suffer in the right way, that's suffering in the right way. Seeing reality and saying this is really painful right now. Suffering in the wrong way is being afraid of things that are going to happen, or afraid that things that happen, you know. But when you're present, we're all going to have times where we feel the pain of being alive and being mortal, you know. So yes, the brain, it can be rewired for sure.
Yes.
But it takes a lot of work.
Right.
Takes a lot of work. Readjust, readjust, readjust.
Well, my lights went off again, as you can see. But we're almost to the end. But I want to encourage you. I think it's I can't see, page 8 in your book, in your cognitive fitness book. There is a cognitive, reserve assessment.
Page 6.
Oh, page 6. Thank you. I'm in the dark. I'm going to bring a flashlight next week. Anyway, please don't write in your book unless you want to purchase your own. And then, of course, you can write in it. But so use your journal or a piece of paper. But I think it would be interesting, if you're interested in cognitive reserve, to, you know, to take this assessment and kind of see where you are. Yes.
Okay.
Rhonda, did you?
Got it.
Someone said something. Okay. Again, it's hard for me to see. I'm sorry.
I guess no windows.
No, this is a conference room. But okay. So anyway, cognitive reserve. I have all these wonderful notes and I can't read them, but we'll push on. To me, a very interesting topic. We have some familiarity with it, of course, but the name kind of threw me at first. So I'm going to push on. There's your pop quiz. All right. So today, in wrapping up, we talked about 3 concepts: cognitive fitness, self-nourishment, and then cognitive reserve. And to me, the one that fit into our positive psychology thinking was the gratitude journaling. Giving thanks for whatever it is, Albertson's senior day, or, you know, my life, my health, my family, whatever kinds of things. Now, all right, so in summarizing for today, I want to make sure that we understand that gratitude journaling is only one tenet of positive psychology. And when a brain, with a fit brain that has lots of reserve, you can more easily pursue gratitude and flow, and the resiliency that we know is so important. Would encourage you to do the exit interview that I sent you yesterday. That writing down those things again helps solidify the learning that you've done today, because you may go back and say, now, what was it? When did we talk about this? So it's a handy reference for that. So I can summarize what I wanted you to learn. What I want you to do with the exit interview is to summarize what you did learn. Then you've got several opportunities for growth this week. And again, these are entirely optional. If you want to take a gander at all of them or one of them, write a cognitive fitness goal, make it part of that mission statement. And you can do that in any of the 3 ways that we learned about goal setting. Do something else creative this week. And, you know, hopefully from now on, write in your gratitude journal. Again, the wisdom is 3 different things every day. Notice if you really think about what you're grateful for. Notice if it's a struggle or if it comes easily to you. I think those are important things. Okay, so before we close out, I will send you the copious notes that I've taken today on all the wonderful things that we've talked about. You guys are such a wealth of information and support for each other. And again, if you find things that are you think applicable, send them on to me. I've got a wonderful poem that we're going to look at next week that Theresa sent, and another thing from Ava. So keep those resources coming, okay? Because they're all real helpful. So next week, we're going to talk about grit. I called it true grit because I love John Wayne. But the author of the book that I read, Angela Duckworth, who happens to be a friend of the other sister that's not in Ruidoso right now. She lives in Philadelphia. She's a friend of, well, actually, they took yoga together, Angela Duckworth and our sister Robin. But she talks about grit, and it is just a fascinating subject. And then we'll talk about self. Not so much self-care, but about ourselves. So we got about 1 minute left. Any questions, comments? Yes, Rhonda.
Right. I just had a thought. You know, all this information, Mary, I know, you say send it to you, but I'm just wondering if anybody would want to do like a Facebook group where if you have something, you can just post it to the group. And then it doesn't have to go through, several different channels. I don't know if that's anything that anybody would be interested, but it's easy enough to set up a Facebook group, and, whatever you find, you can just post it to the group, and then Mary doesn't have to, moderate.
I do have a Facebook group. It's called
For this class?
Well, it's for anybody who wants to join. It's called Creative Aging Issues and Ideas. And
well, who knew?
I know. So I didn't pay her for this political announcement.
That's such a good idea, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you. I post almost every day. I have had, I think, 20 people No, we're not in the thousands. We're in the hundreds. No, we're in the 20s. Um, just excerpts from what I think about this class. I haven't had any responses. And I talked to a friend who, well, Kimberly, who does the Tuesday class with me, and she said it's very hard to get people to do responses on a Facebook group, but what a wonderful place. Thank you, Rhonda, for sharing information and resources. So it's the name of this class, Creative Aging Issues and Ideas. So if you're on Facebook, you can join the group. Thank you.
Okay.
And post.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you, Lynn.
I'm gonna pop off.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great week. We'll
You too.
some of you Tuesday.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mary.
Bye.